Let me ask you a question. How good are you at playing detective? Life is an evolving mystery story, and the ability to see divine design in action requires seeing coincidences as clues, synchronicities as signs, and intuition as evidence. June 2023 begs for you to become a more conscious investigator of your life, like Sherlock Holmes or Nancy Drew. Peculiar people, places, and possibilities will reveal that there is a greater plan in the works than the plan you had for yourself. But the question is, are you paying attention to the signs? And are you willing to allow the plan to look different than you had anticipated? June is a setup month that prepares us for an upcoming double retrograde during the summertime. It's like a winding path of unexpected turns that attune you to possibilities you hadn't previously seen and to some divergent approaches that are different from, but likely better than your original plans. This month, it's like playing the game of Clue, where the initial cards of some key people and opportunities get laid out. But you won't see how to connect the dots until July, August, and September. Like a good detective, take note of things that stand out. Who or what is showing up differently for you than expected? And what direction do you think that the divine design is pointing you next? The job of a good detective is to allow the story to reveal itself and to follow the nudgings, rather than to try to pre-engineer the conclusion of the story. So instead of holding on to preconceived notions about the outcomes, be a good detective that allows yourself to be informed by surprises along the way. There are clues in the air about money, relationships, and influential women. In business, those three factors could be combining in a project that you're working on, or those three factors could come in to help assuage a business situation that's gone awry. In your personal life, the three factors of money, relationships, and influential women could show up in a romantic dynamic or friendship dynamic that needs to get worked out. More on that later this summer. For some people, there's also a clue in the air about aesthetics, meaning that you or your brand might soon be changing the way you look, undergoing a metaphorical makeover or facelift. Overall in life, there's a sense of being so close to, yet unable to grasp, epic transformations that you've been orchestrating. It's like the suspense of being tippy-toe on the verge of a big leap, and yet there's this thread of unfinished business that keeps pulling you back. And that's because you've been hoping that thread of unfinished business would resolve itself without you ever having to confront it or cut ties. But you'll soon learn that you can't go fully into the future without fully releasing the past. So during the summertime, you're going to have to come to finally and courageously cut those fraying threads. Major birthings finally arrive during mid-June at the summer solstice. This is where divine design finally reveals that the outcome of your story is going to be bigger and better than anything you could have imagined on your own. You may have a holy smokes, this is huge moment of realization, but it's going to take the next 3 months for you to fully play it out. It will require a bit of conflict, courage, and commitment to pull it all off by the end of summertime. But if you do, it's going to be huge. On the world stage, June 2023 is the setup month bringing women and money into the hot seat during the summertime. More details on that in the World Report. Hi friends, and welcome to June 2023. This is the Futurecast, and I'm your host and cosmic coach, Moriel Loren. Let's take a look at how this month's geocosmic energy patterns influence your life, relationships, business, and the globe. We'll start with the personal report, followed by the world report. I'm ready if you are, so let's dive in. June 2023 begins with a reminder to pay attention to the signs, starting the full moon weekend of June 3rd through 5th, where you might have an important message or an incredible aha moment arrive into your consciousness. So, how good are you at listening to the universe? The cosmos is always in conversation with us, and universal language is spoken through things like coincidences that appear out of the blue and yet are somehow perfectly aligned, through music and song lyrics that seem to voice exactly what was on your heart in the moment, through unexpected messages from friends and even strangers that somehow answer a question you were just wondering about, and even sometimes through interferences that protect you from unknown disaster. When a sign is important enough, it often repeats several times until you act on it. So if you feel that you're receiving signs from the universe, let your intuition interpret the meaning of those signs, and then let your logic follow up with the execution plan. If you find yourself denying what your intuition is telling you, conversations in your head like, oh no, that can't be the answer, or oh, that's different than I had planned, or oh no, that can't be it, that sounds tough, then your logic may be trying to talk you down a more convenient path rather than a most correct path. Remember, intuition is the part of you that's connected to your higher self, or the universal part of you, whereas logic is connected to your personality, or everyday ego. Intuition always tries to keep us on the most correct path, which isn't always the most convenient or always the most logical, but ultimately is for our highest good. So if you find yourself trying to talk yourself out of your intuition, ask this instead. What risk am I resisting, or what truth am I delaying? If you look at a history of your life, the best decisions you've ever made are when you've listened to your intuition, and the worst decisions you've ever made are probably when you didn't listen to your intuition. But either way, it always starts with the I had a feeling instinct, and whether it turns out as great or turns out as a disaster is totally dependent on your ability to interpret those instincts and to follow through on that. My job as a cosmic coach is to help clients like you interpret universal language so you can make better decisions. This month, pay special attention to signs that involve money, relationships, and influential women. Those three themes are going to have more significant transformations in July, August, and September. Next up, the second week of June reminds us that all great leaps of faith require cord cutting. You can't fully commit ahead until you disengage elsewhere. You are so close to big changes in your life. You are literally on your tippy toes on the verge of a big leap. But you can't just hop onto that path until you cut the cords from over there. You've got to begin the process of unpeeling yourself from people and circumstances that are keeping you stuck. Between June and October, it's like you dance at the borderline of past meets present while you're toying with a future that you can't fully step into until you close out that unfinished business from the past. Now, some threads that are being woven for you are likely linked to career, money, definitions of success, and even family roles. Meanwhile, you're chatting and planning with some collaborators about really wild and exciting dreams for about 2 weeks from June 12th through 26th. There might even be a brainstorming document that gets written or a formal agreement that gets signed. You're working on a big plan for your future, and it isn't solo. The third week of June invites us into the metaphorical cave, as a new moon on the 17th and 18th wants us to wait, observe, and listen for the signs of where we're being called next. Universal language is abundant during the month of June, with lots of messages and synchronicities to process. So take some time in silence and stillness to evaluate the clues you've received throughout the month and where you think you're actually being called. Remember, the job of your intuition is to keep you on the most correct path, not always the most convenient one. So in your silence and stillness, listen for the best answer over the easiest answer. There's a sense of suspense and waiting during that new moon weekend, like a slingshot being pulled back, ready to explode into action. So don't rush the gestation period of divine guidance over the new moon weekend. Your green lights for go ahead are coming the following week during the summer solstice. The third week of June also brings some fantastic empire building alignments on the 19th, 20th, and 21st, when the annual summer solstice seasonal turning point aligns with a fantastic link between lucky Jupiter and strategic Saturn. It makes that entire third week of June perfect for really powerful strides towards your goals, especially if you've been paying attention to the cosmic clues that have been leading you throughout the month. During that third week, you may have a fortuitous encounter with someone or an opportunity that sets you up for success in the long run, even bigger than you imagine. So be mindful that the third week of June is all about empire building. The summer solstice is the longest day of the year. It symbolizes the shifting from the initiation phase of seed planting in the springtime into the manifestation phase of full bloom in the summertime. Things are aching to come to fruition for you. The universe wants you to blossom right now. So walk through the doors that are opening. And don't get in the way of destiny by ignoring the universal signs or by clinging to cords that need to be cut. If you've been playing your cards right, the week of the summer solstice could bring some destiny-defining moments. Divine design has been weaving a plan that is far bigger than what you had dreamt of for yourself, and hopefully that should become pretty obvious at this point. So, what web of connections are you finally starting to see? The month of June ends on the 27th through 30th by opening a 6-month portal for the cultivation of clear sight. Intuition and feelings continue to be the way shower throughout the month of June, leaving logic as the secondary follow-up companion to the more superior universal mind. Over the next 6 months, you're slowly pulling the blinders off anywhere that you've been subtly deceiving yourself so that you can get to the core truth, see more clearly, and make wiser decisions. Between June and December, you're focused on cultivating that third eye chakra that allows you to see the truth more clearly about what's going on with yourself and others. During that 6-month period, you may also serve as a guide to other people in their lives who need to have a little bit more honest of an inner self dialogue. We get a 2-week jumpstart on the cultivation of clear sight from June 27th to July 10th, as we're invited to think more discerningly about our emotions. Give pause in your daily life to really consider how you're feeling, rather than always rushing off to the next thing or stepping down your emotions just to make it through the day. When a feeling comes up, pause and consider, how does this make me feel? Why? And what information is that telling me about what's really going on? Lean into your emotions. That's your third eye and your heart chakra collaborating. Spiritual practices, healing experiences, or creative endeavors could also become more important to you over the next 6 months from June to December, because those are all mediums that help us express our feelings and get more in touch with our intuition. Okay, friends, that concludes the personal report for June 2023. So let's take a look at the world report. On the global stage, Women and money step into the hot seat during the summer. Remember that June is our setup month for bigger transformations that will unfold in July, August, and September. So we should start looking for the initial indicators now. I wonder things like, will a female candidate possibly be named for the 2024 US presidential race? Or I wonder also, too, could an inappropriate involvement with a female come to light in a scandalous situation with a political leader, especially if there was a payoff involved? On the world stage, global women's rights may also become a focus this summer, such as the women's education revolution happening in Iran, or perhaps information about money linked to sex trafficking and big celebrity, political, and leadership names involved with that. Last year on the summer solstice, the US Supreme Court overturned the abortion ruling of Roe versus Wade, which sent a tailspin of female voters into a lot of concern and upset. Governments tend to like to make major announcements during the 4 solstice and equinox turning points during the year. So you can bet that there's going to be some major world news happening the week of the summer solstice from June 19th to 25th. Money itself will definitely come into the hot seat this summer during July, August, and September's double retrograde. So look for those initial indicators now during June. Things like the dwindling popularity of the US dollar, the rising US debt ceiling, and the international push for these digital currencies may all come to the forefront of debate in the heat of the summer months. I wouldn't be surprised if there was something like a major banking scandal, perhaps some kind of widespread identity theft that occurs at one of the major banking institutions, limits on cash withdrawals, the fear of bank runs, or even something curious coming up with the new rules for the IRS. Definitely, there's going to be a lot of public questions and outrage, maybe about discovering the truth of where some of our American taxpayer dollars are getting funneled to. Also, the artificial intelligence hot streak may experience a temporary pause between June 2023 and early 2024 before the world finally accepts that we've let a genie out of the bottle that's pretty irreversible. I think a lot of major companies and governments are still defining the ethics that should be associated with the use of AI, as well as some of the laws and regulations that should be implemented for both humans and AI to have healthy interactions. A lot of people will also be evaluating the potential fear of mass unemployment for smaller jobs, which could occur once AI hits the workforce and takes over many of those occupations. Meanwhile, I wonder if the world owners might be quietly cooking up the next plandemic to deploy over the next few years. As society starts inching towards the widespread implementation of digital currency, surveillance tracking, and AI, the World Governing Board might plan another disaster to scare everyone into compliance. All right, friends, now that you know the geocosmic energy patterns for the month ahead, it's time for you to determine your destiny. If you found this video helpful, then click the like button or subscribe to our free monthly newsletter at www.livesymbolic.com. I'd love to hear feedback from you throughout the month about how you applied this information in your real life. And if you're curious for even more specific guidance on how this information applies to you individually, then I'd love to see you in my office or online for an individual consultation. My job is to coach professionals like you on how to make better decisions by being in alignment with the unique geocosmic energy patterns described by your birthday. Everything in our universe is created through mathematics. Frequency, vibration, and harmony are the foundational physics that describe patterns of how each living organism, person, or thing will evolve in our material reality. You too contain universal mathematics. The coordinates from your birthday describe your unique energy patterns and timing in your evolution. We can use this to define a clear life path for you with mathematical precision you simply cannot find anywhere else. It's the fastest way to know your destiny with shocking accuracy that simply cannot be ignored. That's why I love using this method and have applied it to over 987 clients in the past 13 years. In case it's interesting to you or anyone you know, there's a link below to schedule an individual consultation. Figure out who you are and what's meant for you and what to do next in less than 90 minutes. All right, friends, thanks for joining me here on the Futurecast, and I'll see you next time when our stars align.